December 18th, 2015 will be my mother and father's 71st wedding anniversary.
Wow.
In a time when divorce is running rampant in this country and probably the world, you wonder how two people could stay together that long.
I'd like to know.
The answer is simple. And me as a son. I started out as a child. I was born to Lily and Greg Esposito in a hospital in a small city. I lived in Rome, New York. And in Rome, New York, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood called East Rome. My grandparents had a grocery store, very similar to what you would see on television. It had the provolone, it had the salami, all hanging from the ceiling. They had a refrigerated case where my grandmother actually made her own hot sausage by grinding up pork, seasoning it, buying lamb intestines, and stuffing it through a funnel. And I used to do that with her because I lived upstairs from my grandmother and grandfather's grocery store for the first 8 years of my life. I remember the first time I ran away from home. I got as far as their grocery store downstairs. And my logic was they had food I could eat. I know it's going to be hard to believe, but I was quite the prankster growing up as a child. I remember a time that my friends and I plotted to blow up the school bus, but that plot failed when I burnt my lips on the tailpipe. I love sports. I played football, basketball, I was on the wrestling team, and I ran track. And my favorite sport was that of a broad jump. They didn't call it long jump back then, they called it broad jumpers. Now I just do that for fun. But I was the only kid in the history of baseball that was ever traded to another family because I just hated that sport and I wasn't good at it. As I grew up, spending 18 years in Rome, New York, the snow belt of upstate New York, I said I need to seek a warmer climate. It was difficult because I grew up in a large family. I had 3 brothers and sisters. I still had my grandparents alive. My grandmother, also Italian, my grandfather from Italy, and my grandmother was one of 20 children. Catholics, you gotta love them. They don't believe in birth control. My father actually had an uncle that was 2 years younger than him. Reminds me of my own situation where my daughter has a 21-year-old niece. She's only 5. So history does repeat itself. It's very difficult to compare a small town and then moving to Miami, where I attended the University of Miami, where I majored in underwater basket weaving and sandbox. Throughout my time there, I worked full-time while I went to college because I had to. I wanted a car. Those days, your parents didn't go out and buy you everything. You had to actually earn it yourself. I think there was some logic behind it. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but one day I will. It didn't work on any of my children because I had to buy the cars, I had to buy the electronics, I had to buy the $150 Nikes, and sometimes multiple pairs, so it was difficult growing up. My likes and dislikes, I love making people laugh. It's my drug of choice. I never smoked pot, I never did drugs, I never did any of that, but my drug of choice is making an audience laugh. I prefer to be before audiences that have thousands of people. Take me to the Dolphin Stadium, put me in the middle of the stage like they did with Larry the Cable Guy, and I would love to make people laugh. That's where I get my thrills. It is important for me to have people show up. And what do I mean by that? Part of life is just showing up for the experiences that we have. And sometimes people don't even take advantage of it. So my pet peeve is people not showing up and people not being on time. When you're not on time, you not only are losing out yourself for what you missed, but it's actually disrespectful to other people. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves. What are my passions? Raising children, watching them grow, and just wondering what they're going to actually turn into as they get older. Sometimes it's very rewarding, sometimes it's frightening, and sometimes you're not happy about what they do. But that's one of life's little treasures, raising parents. I've loved being a parent. I've done it 3 separate times, raised 3 separate families, and it has been a challenge many times, but it's something that I enjoy. I would do it all over again, except not to start again now. I'm still thinking about the days where I can get a place here. I won't have to travel as far to go to Toastmaster meetings. And the food smells really good in the lobby here, so I think that I would like it here. I enjoy being in Toastmasters, and I hope people enjoy me being in Toastmasters, because if it wasn't for me and Jason Bank, this club wouldn't exist, and you'd probably be somewhere else tonight.